and welcome to a new episode of DiagnoseDan. And today we're working on this 2007 Mercedes-Benz M-Class with a 3.5 V6, and the customer complaint is rough running and a check engine light. So let's diagnose this together. Now we are inside the car and we've got our check engine light, so that's confirmed. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, but it is running a little bit rough. I've got the scan tool hooked up, and we've got a P0300, which is a random misfire. Now all we know so far is that we've got a check engine light, a rough running engine, and a P0300, which is a random misfire code. Now what we need is direction. Which way should we go? Is it a coil? Is it an injector? Have we got a lean misfire? At this point, there's no telling. So what I want to do is take another look at the scan data and look for anything out of the ordinary. Now I went through the scan data and I highlighted a few things that looked out of the ordinary. Now first of all, this intake manifold pressure, which is about 49 kilopascal, and that seems to be a little bit low on vacuum. Now another thing that stands out is both our bank 1 and bank 2 short-term fuel trims, which are both maxed out at 25%. So this PCM is trying to compensate for a lean condition. Now both our downstream O2 sensors are reading a low voltage, confirming a lean condition. Now if you guys paid attention to my last video, I told you guys that if a wideband sensor is reading a lean condition, it's showing a positive current on the signal wire. Now these are both upstream O2 sensors, which are wideband sensors, and they're both reading a positive current on the signal wire, confirming a lean condition. Now let's repeat the theory one more time. And if you guys want to learn more about this, please watch my previous video on O2 sensors. Now if a conventional narrowband O2 sensor is reading a lean condition, it will give you a low voltage. Now both our downstream O2 sensors were giving us a low voltage, close to 0 volts. So that's confirming a lean condition. Now, both our upstream O2 sensors on this car are wideband O2 sensors. Now, wideband O2 sensors will give you a positive current in milliamps when they are reading a lean condition. And they were showing us a positive current, so also confirming there is a lean condition. Now, we were reading a positive 25% on our fuel trim, and that's confirming our PCM is trying to compensate for this lean condition by adding more fuel. Now looking at the scan data has provided us with a direction to go. Our random misfires are probably caused by the lean condition we've got. But what is causing the lean condition? Have we got a fuel delivery problem? Or have we got a vacuum leak? Now there is a simple test which can show you the next step you should take. If we rev the engine and our symptoms are getting worse, we probably have got a fuel delivery problem. But if we rev the engine and our symptoms are getting better, then we probably have got a vacuum leak. Now in the next test, I'm gonna rev the engine while we take a look at the fuel trims. When the fuel trims don't improve when I rev the engine, we probably have got a fuel delivery problem. But when we look at the fuel trims and I rev the engine and they do improve, we've got to go find ourselves a vacuum leak. So let's take a look. Now the test was quite conclusive. Our fuel trims improved as we revved the engine. So what do you guys think? Have we got a fuel delivery problem? Or should we go find a vacuum leak? Now before we continue, let's think about this test for a moment. Now positive fuel trims means the PCM is compensating for a lean condition by injecting more fuel. Now this lean condition was confirmed by both our upstream wideband sensors showing a positive current and both our downstream narrowband sensors showing a low voltage. Now if we had got a fuel delivery problem, the problem would have got worse when we needed more fuel, so at high RPM. But our problem didn't get worse. As we raised the RPM, the fuel trims actually improved. Now think about this. If you got a little vacuum leak, that vacuum leak would be quite substantial when the engine is only taking a little bit of air, so at idle. But when the engine is taking lots of air, so when you raise the RPM, that little vacuum leak isn't that substantial anymore, and it won't affect your fuel trims as bad. So that's why I think we've got to go find ourselves a vacuum leak. Now also, keep into mind, we had very low vacuum in this intake manifold, also suggesting we've got a vacuum leak. Now that we think we've got ourselves a vacuum leak, the next challenge is how to find it. Now there are many ways to find a vacuum leak, but today I'll be using a smoke machine. Now I've got the smoke machine hooked up to the intake manifold, and look what I found. At the front of our manifold is this little actuator, which is the actuator for the variable intake. And the axle for the variable intake comes out of the manifold over here. Now watch what happens as I put on the smoke machine. This is no longer sealing, and this is causing our lean condition. Now that we've found our problem, the next thing we've got to do is fix it. I've got the intake manifold out, and this is the old unit. And over here we've got a brand new original unit. Now in the new unit, it's clear to see how the variable intake is supposed to function. But on the old unit, this one is totally gone, and this one is coming apart. And not only it's no longer sealing and causing a lean condition, but also the variable intake is no longer functional. And because it's no longer connected to anything, everything inside is living a life of its own. If you shake the new one, it's totally silent. But if you shake this one, everything inside is not connected and doing its own thing, basically. So this could also cause drivability problems. So it's a good thing we're changing this out, and all that's left is to install the new unit. Now back in the car, and right away I can notice the engine is running a lot smoother. Now let's take a look at our scan data. First of all, our intake manifold pressure, 35 kilopascal, which was 49 kilopascal, so a lot more vacuum right now, which makes sense because we took care of our leak. Now our both short-term bank 1 and bank 2 fuel trims, they were maxed out at 25% positive. Right now, they are well within spec. Our both downstream O2 sensors at a quite steady voltage, and our upstream wideband O2 sensors are switching between positive and negative again. And do you see how close the current is to zero, which means we've got a perfect mixture. Finding a vacuum leak using scan data? Well, scan data and a smoke machine, of course. Interesting, right? I want to thank you guys for all the nice comments you gave on my previous videos. I hope you liked this one, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, and when you hit the bell, you will get a notification each time I post a new video. Until then, remember, DiagnoseDan fixed it again. See you next time, guys.